Hey everybody, this is Samori from TheSamoriXperience. I appreciate you spending some time with me for a second. What I want to do is share a few reasons why I feel it's important that we learn different languages. You know, majority of the world's population speaks two to three different languages, excluding America, because, a lot of people know that in America, for the most part, most people speak English. Other than immigrants that have come to the country, people that have been there 4 or 5 generations, 6 and even more, speak English only. You know what I mean? And with the world becoming more globalized and America becoming, there's a huge Spanish-speaking population, there's huge Asian populations, it would behoove you to learn a different language, First of all, what I want to say is kind of like people have various different reasons for learning languages. Some people learn languages from a religious aspect. They want to learn probably the original text or language that their religion was written down in. Arabic, Aramaic, Hebrew, Amharic. People want to learn these languages so that they can get a better understanding of what their religion is telling them to do. A lot of times the translation is not sufficient. I see people trying to learn a language to impress or attract women. I've seen people try to learn languages because maybe their parents or their grandparents spoke this language, and they feel kind of bad because they don't speak the same language that their grandparents spoke. So in order to keep their culture intact, they want to learn their language and pass it on to their children. You know what I mean? I think I have 3 reasons why I feel people should learn languages. Everybody has their own reasons, but for me, number 1, learning another language, I feel, and it's already been proven, will help you compete in the job market. Getting a job, and even if you are you're creating your own job, you're creating your own business, especially for people that's doing international business. In international business, it's almost mandatory that you be able to speak Mandarin or whatever language, whatever country that you plan on doing business in. It would behoove you to definitely learn that language, But for the most part, what I like to call special effects is when people can have something that's unique about them that sets them apart from other people. You know what I mean? This isn't the 60s and 70s where if you had a degree, that was something special, that was something major. Nowadays everybody has degrees. You know what I mean? So when you go and apply for a job and it's 6 or 7 of y'all and y'all all have degrees, then what's the next thing that's going to set you apart from them? I think that speaking a language is definitely an asset, that will really set you apart, because you have jobs that are franchise companies that have branches in different areas of the states, different countries. Let's say, for instance, that branch is in a Spanish-speaking dominant area, or it's in an Asian area where it's a huge population of Asians, where they get a lot of customers that may come in and might not speak fluent English, you know what I mean? Then naturally that company is going to place somebody to head that branch or to work in that branch that can speak that language that those people speak in order to work effectively, Definitely competing in the job market, learning another language is crucial and it's critical. It'll be very beneficial. Another reason that I think that we should learn other languages is for traveling purposes. I've been to several different countries. I've been to some countries where I didn't speak the language that the people spoke, the majority of the people spoke. And although I had a good time, my experience would have been better if I spoke the language of the people, if I was able to speak to them and talk to them, you know what I mean? Because when you go places, you want to interact with the people and you want to talk, you know what I mean? Hopefully, in most countries, there's always going to be somebody that speaks English, you know what I mean? But I've been to some places where majority of the people didn't speak English. Just luckily, I may have ran into somebody that spoke English and they was probably able to give me some kind of direction or help me out in that instance. But when you're traveling, you know, and I encourage everybody to travel. When you're traveling and when you go somewhere and you can speak the same language as the people, your overall experience is better if you're the type of person to, you know, interact with the people. Definitely for traveling purposes, it will definitely help you. Also, third, and which is very critical also, is like an instance in myself. I live in Houston. There is a large Spanish-speaking population in Houston, you know, and it's growing every day. You know, Mexican people, or not even just Mexicans, but people from South America, Spanish people, Honduran, Costa Rican, Colombian, Venezuelan, from all different places that speak Spanish are in Houston, and they are everywhere. You know, from the lower levels to the higher levels. They're in city jobs, firemen, policemen. I interact with Spanish-speaking people almost every day. You know, there are places where I work. I see them in the schools. I see them on the streets. I see them daily. So, you know, when you learn the language of those people, it opens up a whole other world to you, a whole other culture to you. Whereas, like, maybe, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, Houston was kind of like, you had certain people lived on this side, certain people lived on that side, and for the most part you wouldn't interact unless it was at work. You know what I mean? But now you having blended communities where you're interacting with people all the time now. You know what I mean? If you can speak that person's language, then it'll be beneficial to you in some way. Be that just interacting with them on the street, be that interacting with them at work, be that a lot of times, like in Houston, in the Mexican areas where they have a lot of businesses, they may have products or something that you may want that you can get at a cheaper price than going to the department stores. You know what I mean? If you can speak that language, then it'll make everything smoother for you and you'll have a better experience with those people. You know, there's areas in the States where mainly Arabs live, like Dearborn, I believe, up in Michigan, where it's just a huge Arab-speaking community. You know, not just from one country, but from all over. You know, you have areas like California, where it's a huge Asian population, where you got a lot of people that they don't even learn English when they come to the States. They only speak their Asian language. You know what I mean? If you're living in an area like that, then it would be beneficial to you to learn their language so that you can interact with those people, or even if you run into them, a lot of times things can be prevented by speaking their language, because a lot of times there's communication barriers that cause problems, you know? So definitely, these are my 3 reasons why I think people should learn languages, you know, in order to be competitive in the job market, for traveling purposes. If you like to travel, I definitely like to travel. I like to go places. You know, I've been to like Colombia and Panama, where majority of the people spoke Spanish. You know what I mean? There were some people that spoke English, but for the most part, people spoke Spanish. And although, like I said, I had a good time, I just would have had a better experience had I been able to speak to more people and talk to them. You know what I mean? And then also, if you're living in areas where there are huge numbers of other people, then it would behoove you to learn that language. So also, it's pretty much it. You know, it's critical. It's critical. The world is becoming globalized. You know, we are interacting with people all over the world daily. I can call somebody in China and speak to them. I can call somebody in France, or I can call somebody in Africa. You know what I mean? The top 3 languages, I feel that if you want to learn a language strictly from a business standpoint, the top 3 languages are Mandarin, Spanish, and English. You know, now, if you're living in a country where, for instance, the States is a huge number of Spanish-speaking people, then obviously you want to learn their language. If you're living in Germany, you know, where majority of the people speak German and Arabic, then you want to learn one of those languages. You know what I mean? But if you want to do international business, definitely I feel Mandarin is crucial. Spanish and English. You know, Although, like if you go to China, many of them speak English. If you go to India, many of them speak English. But if you go there and you speak one of their languages, it would be a benefit for you. You know, they will look at you kind of like more like, wow, he speaks our language. You know, they will be more accepting of you, more warm to you, seeing that you speak their language, you know. So that's just some food for thought. You know, give that some thought and really consider it. You know, what I'm doing right now is I'm living in Mexico learning Spanish. You know, everybody can't sacrifice the time to do that. So if you can get yourself a tutor, if you can just take a class or two where even if you don't become fluent, you can at least pick up a lot of words or pick up some phrases and stuff like that, that will at least help you articulate some things, you know, when you're dealing with people. So really give that some thought and think about that, and if you can, try to learn another language. Try to learn another language. It's critical. It's important. Thanks for listening. See you later.